Thank you. Before I start, a short disclaimer. We saw lots of beautiful talks about the electoral justice, about interleges. It's just mind-blowing what the Brazilian Plone community does here. And my talk is not about changing the world for the better, what they do. So we're not trying that. We're not trying to change the world, or even your organization that might use an intranet solution, right? This is because our clients are mainly government agencies, research institutions, universities, right? So they're highly hierarchical organizations, and the intranet needs to reflect that. So for them, an intranet is first and foremost a working tool, right? Often publishing content is a legal liability for them, so they have to publish that content, right? And they often treat their content like this. Often the intranets that we build for our clients are mainly driven or controlled by internal communication. And since they're a hierarchical organization, their communication channel is mostly one way, right? So I had a nice chat with Guido before this talk. Guido, who does Quave, social intranet, and they do beautiful things and lots of things. But the most social thing that we have on our intranets is actually commenting, and not even all our clients have commenting enabled. Some even don't, right? So that's the most social they get. And it's important to accept those facts, in my opinion, if you work with those kind of clients, right? Because they're large organizations, and we're a small consulting company for Plone, right? And they're way bigger than we are. They have 1,000 people or 10,000 people or more, right? So in my career, I saw that agencies sometimes don't get that they have to accept certain facts about the clients. And I had one experience that was eye-opening for me. One of our longest clients that we had, I started to work for another company when I was a student for them, right? So they're our clients 15 years or so. So really long, right? And I went there, and they wanted to have a mobile app. And they hired fancy agencies to do that, right? Because back then we were mainly like doing technical stuff, right? So they hired an agency. And we had a meeting with like 30 of that company, right, of our clients, and like 2 or 3 agency people. And the agency people like came in and they created personas and stuff. And this organization that we were working with was also like rather conservative, right? And there were like lots of people that were in their 50s, in their 60s, right? A bit outside of Frankfurt, that meeting was. And there were those agencies people, and they were like doing stuff and doing fancy things, doing personas and whatnot, what agencies do, right? Which is their job, which is fine, right? But all those people, they were sitting there like this, and they were saying like, "Das interessiert mich nicht." So this is like, I don't care. I don't care what I'm not going to take part in this bullshit, right? They're basically said in German, right? And I was like, okay, I like that. I like that guy, right? Like said that because it felt useless to me, right? Because those were people that know their business, right? They know their business for like 30 years. And then an agency comes in for a pitch and tells them how they should structure their product, right? And that felt wrong to me, right? So for me personally, and for us at Kit Concept, consultancy means first and foremost to listen to our client, right? To listen to them, to understand their use case, because I'm personally clueless about their use case, right? And their constraints. How should I know how a government agency in Germany actually works really from the inside, right? I never worked there, and that's true for all the clients, right? And then I see my job as a consultant to provide options, right? And sometimes even the outcome might be that we can't provide the proper option, right? Maybe Plone is not the right tool then, right? Maybe you should use WordPress then, or something else, right? Maybe you want a social intranet or something. So our obligation as a consultant is to provide options. And if I look at the requirements from our clients, right, government agencies, research institutions, universities, they're often good with vanilla Plone, actually, right? So Plone can do a lot what an intranet needs. You can create and publish content. That's the core functionality. That's the most important functionality that you have. we have a very fine-grained and sophisticated permission system, right? So a large organization, you can easily assign permissions to a certain group of editors. So it scales well, it works well for lots of editors. You have content history, right? And all the niceties of content management. So you can see who edited what when. You have a working copy option since forever, right? So you can change a page, ask your superior, have a workflow, they approve it, and then it's good to go, right? So workflows is also a very important feature of Plone. We can create content types through the web. So if you have specific use cases, you don't necessarily need to hire an agency. You can create a content type through the web. And one of the missing bits and pieces that we had in classic UI or in Plone 5 were that you couldn't edit content types through the web. There were lots of people that tried to tackle this use case, but it never made it into core. But thanks to the EA folks and or the web, we have that now. So you can create your content type through the web, and you can create your template through the web, and in a very sophisticated way. So you can even tell like what parts of your templates are free to edit and which one are fixed. So this is a really, really powerful feature that is in core Plone 6, which is awesome. So I said that vanilla Plone is often enough. So what kind of add-ons do you need? Surprisingly, often we have clients that come to us and say, hey, we're an intranet in Plone for 10 years. Can you help us maybe upgrade that, right, or something? And then I ask, okay, what kind of add-ons do you have? I mean, do you have a theme? And they say, no, we don't have any add-ons. We don't have a theme, right? That's it. It's really vanilla Plone. So the only add-on that I see regularly is LDAP and Active Directory, right? Because large organizations, that might not be true for small organizations, but large organizations, government agencies, research institutions, of course, they have a central system like LDAP Active Directory that they want to connect, right? Plone plays well with those systems, always has been, and you can just connect that to LDAP and OpenID to LDAP and Active Directory without a problem. The thing that we sometimes do on top of vanilla Plone plus Active Directory LDAP is single sign-on, right? Because large organizations, and they have lots of systems, Plone is not the only system. Sometimes they have hundreds of other systems, so they don't want their users to always log in, but they want single sign-on. So you use SAML, Shibboleth, OpenID Connect. Keycloak is particularly popular amongst government agencies in Germany. There's a requirement actually for government agencies in Germany to use Keycloak, which is great to standardize that. And there's always consulting work necessary when it comes to Keycloak or those single sign-on systems, because every system is different, right? And every Keycloak is slightly configured in a different way. So they need consultancy for that. But that's it, right? And I talked a bit about intranet distribution, and the vanilla Plone plus LDAP Active Directory, that's actually an intranet distribution, right? This is our idea of what an intranet distribution can be. And lucky for us, our friend Erico already created this distribution. That was one of the first distribution that he created after creating all the infrastructure for distributions. So thank you, Erico, even if you're not here. So you can go to the collective plone.intranet, and you have a Plone distribution, which is really more or less vanilla Plone with some example contents and a few options for authentication, right? And because this is a distribution that's supposed to be easy to use, we don't have Keycloak or OpenID Connect or anything of the heavy stuff, but you can authenticate with GitHub and Google, right? Which is nice if you're a small organization, then you can just use the existing infrastructure, right? And that's a good showcase. But that doesn't mean that you can't use the larger and more complex authentication options, right? So that's quite a decent distribution already. You can go there, you can use it today, right? So talking about like distributions, this is kind of the baseline. But of course, I personally, and we as Kid Concept, we have opinions, right? How we think that intranets should look like, how websites should look like. You gain experience over the years, and you have opinions on certain things, and you set the focus on certain things, right? Both in the community and also when you do consultancy. So one of our main focus, both in the community and also for me personally, is that content editing should be easy, right? This is one of the most important guidelines that we have. And I often think about this when I got a call from like government agencies and somebody is on holiday, right? And then there's the poor person who is a holiday replacement. They have never worked with Plone or the system, right? And then you have this legal liability that you need to publish content urgently, otherwise you get into serious problems, right? If you're working at a government agency and somebody higher up the ladder told you to publish that and that is a requirement, and then that poor person calls and says, oh my God, I have half an hour left and help me, please help me. So the good thing is that in those situations, you really see what a system can do and how user-friendly a system is, right? So in most cases, it's really very easy to tell them, and the calls get lesser and lesser the more we use modern Plone versions, right? And this is really important. So I will briefly show what I showed during the keynote. What I mean with that, right, that you have a really smooth editing experience, that is really easy to add things, easy to edit things and just change it, right? Because you have complete what you see is what you get here with the grid and the teaser blocks. So this is important. A second thing that is important, and that's our opinion or my opinion, is that intranet deserves a good design. This is often something where our clients do not really care much because, as said, it's a work tool for them, right? So they don't care if it's like tiny fonts and it's a wall of text, right? Because they're used to those systems and it's just a work tool, right? So you just go there if you need to do something, and if it's not pretty, they don't care much, right? But in my opinion, it doesn't matter if you have a public website or an intranet. People are looking for content, right? And that should be easy. It should be easy for them to find content and the important things that they look for, right? So good design is an important thing, and good usability is important, right? We know that from our experience in the Plone community. No matter if you have an internet or an intranet, good design and good usability are key. The client might not see that, but they will realize it when they work with the system, right? So that's something where we are really opinionated about. Another thing is worry-free editors, because our clients have lots of editors, right? Often we don't even talk to them ever, right? Because they get trained on Plone, maybe with a few screencasts, that's it, and then they work with Plone, right? And we rarely see them, but we want them not to worry about many things that you have to worry, for instance, if you use a WordPress site or something, right? So responsive design, I know it's an old thing, but if you look at most CMSs in the world, they have those tiny icons somewhere in the editing environment where you can switch between mobile, tablet, and desktop view, right? We don't have that in Plone because our blocks just work, right? And they don't have to worry about it. They create them and they will just work, right? So one thing less to worry about. Accessibility is extremely important when you work with government agencies, right? We saw that in lots of talks. So this is also something where you need to be opinionated, for instance. It's not enough if you provide an alt tag option for every single image that you have and then show that everywhere, because the specification is actually different. You don't want to repeat stuff that's already there, right? So if you have a decorative image, like what I show in the grid and teaser block, you have an empty alt tag, right? And we don't even expose that in our system any longer, because the editors shouldn't worry about that, right? They need to add alt tags where they are actually needed, but not everywhere, just to make an automated system happy, right? So you bake in accessibility rules into the system so that your editors do not need to worry about it. Vertical spacing is also something that's really important. Dante talked about this, right? That our blocks work well together automatically. It's a design system. It's an implementation of a design system, right? So as an editor, you think about the content that you have and you just stack the blocks. And the system, the design system, will automatically decide the vertical spacing, right? And that also lifts off lots of work from editors, and you don't have any ugly pages any longer. Because let's face it, editors are not designers, right? And if they work at a government agency, they're definitely not designers, right? And that's also a slide that I stole from Dante, right? That you can see the margins and paddings between things, but also the hierarchy of the headlines, for instance, right? That's another thing that they don't need to worry about. So we limit certain options in the system, for instance, like headlines. We don't have 6 headlines like TinyMCE, right? We have 2 headlines in our text block and a heading block. That's it, right? So 3 levels. but we can ensure accessibility by that, right? And it's not easy to make mistakes with a system that's so limited in that regard, right? Corporate design guidelines is another thing, right? So editors shouldn't need to know what their corporate design guidelines are. That should be baked into the system, right? The colors that they're allowed to use, that should be baked into the system, right? Information architecture is an important thing. If you think about a government agency intranet, there's lots of content, right? And there are things that you can't change in a government agency. So if they have their structure, you have to build that structure in the intranet. There's no user-centric design here or anything fancy agency stuff, right? You just can't do that. It's just not possible, right? So, but there are small things that you can do to improve the information architecture for the users. And I know this is controversial for some people, but don't use portlets. That's one of the things that really helps, because the problem is this, right? So if you have portlets, you have the main column and you have 4 items there, and on the right side you have the navigation. And I can show you thousands, literally thousands and 10,000s of examples of intranets that we migrated from Plone or from other systems, where I can show you screenshots that I'm not allowed to share here because it's intranets, right? But I can show you screenshots where this is messed up, where the order is wrong, where on the left side you have 4 items, on the right side you have 3 items, and you're just, in the best case, you're duplicating content, right? So to fix the problem, just do this. Get rid of the portlets, get rid of the sidebar, right? I know it's controversial. Come after me after my talk. I'm happy to fight. I have colleagues that have different opinions. That's totally fine, but that's my opinion, right? And this is what we did in Volto Light Team. So no portlets. We solved that in another way. So worry-free editors and everything we learned in the past years in our projects, working with government agencies, intranet, and a public website, we put that into Volto Light Team. So everything that I told you about is Volto Light Team, actually. As said, Dante gave a talk about that. Victor also talked about that. We discussed internally if Volto Light Team is a distribution. We decided against that because we wanted to focus more on it, on specific use cases, right? But it could be. So what are other improvements on top of like vanilla Plone plus Volto Light Team? Because we put everything in there, right? So this is the default Volto Light Team header that we have. This is called internally our internet header, right, for a public website. So we have an option in Volto Light Team to use an intranet header. So this is the intranet header. Did anyone spot the difference? Search bar, exactly, search bar. So why do we put the search bar in the middle? Because intranet means lots of content, right? Government intranets means bad information architecture, so people won't find anything. Search is always important, but in intranet, search is absolutely essential, right? So we put it in the middle because most people are searching in those intranets. So search is key. And as said, if the information architecture has to be bad because of organizational requirements, it's even more important. So the search here has a few features. So one of this is that you have an autocomplete. So if you click into the search, you get a nice preview of autocomplete options that they are shown. We have facets for the search, right? So we have different content objects, and you can use the facets to filter the content, which is important because intranets have lots of content, right? You need a state-of-the-art search. It's great that we still have a search in Plone, and you don't need to set up a Solr, Elasticsearch, or your favorite search engine on top of that. That's the great thing about the collective intranet distribution, that you don't have that. But let's face it, when you have a large intranet project, you need sophisticated search, right? You need prefix, suffix, subterm matching. You need fuzzy search, stemming, synonyms, all that. You need to you want ranking factors to higher rank newer content. That's extremely important. So you need a sophisticated search. We use Solr. You can use Elasticsearch. I'm not very opinionated on that, but we always used Solr, and we stick with it. We had a panel at the last Plone conference, I think, about search in Plone, and I'm not solving that problem today for the Plone community, but in a distribution, we can be opinionated. So we went with Solr. We also had a discussion internally about that, but we went with solar in the end. And we open sourced everything that we do for the distribution, not as part of the distribution, but as a separate product. So you're free to use that if you want, but with the distribution, it comes all pre-configured, which is a big plus because search systems are complex and configuration is actually key in a search, right? It's not enough to just have solar. You can still have a horrible search with solar if it's not configured properly, right? So those are the two add-on products that we have, a backend product and a front-end product. I know I'm still officially the maintainer of Collective Solar, but we created still Kit Concept Solar, which is far more opinionated than Collective Solar, right? So again, we put that into a distribution, we put that into an add-on product because it's opinionated and we don't want to enforce that on other people, right? So have a look if you like it. Let's talk about it. So yeah, we're getting slightly more opinionated here. So this is why we created an intranet distribution called Kit Concept Intranet. It's fully open source. You can go there, you can copy it, you can create your own distribution on it. It's not very heavy. As said, it's standard Plone. It's Volto Light theme. That's 90% of the things that are there. And we plan to add more things there, but so far it's very thin and lightweight, right? So it's definitely not QA. It's definitely not a like full-fledged product. But it's a lightweight distribution that you can use out of the box if you want to. You can also use it as a base for your own projects if you want to, or just copy parts of it if you like those parts, right? That's the beauty of open source. So just go there and take it. Of course, we have a few more features that clients are asking for that we generalize. So all the projects that we do, we try to see what those clients have in common. And if we see a feature that 3 different clients asked for, and we were able to generalize that, then we put it into our product, right? So this is also something that we stole from Guido and Quave, right? On a far smaller scale so far. Yeah, but this is what we do right now. So another feature that's important is person profiles, right? So if you have a large organization with 10,000 people or more, you might not know everybody in the organization, right? So you need a profile. So this is a basic profile that you have for every team member. This is from an actual project that we did. So you have the profile, they say what they do, they include their scientific research and those kind of things, but that's client project specific, right? That's not part of the distribution. So the distribution is really just a profile that uses collective person, actually. Then you want to list those profiles, right, in different ways. So we have different listings, a regular listing, a grid listing. For FZJ intranet, for instance, we create, I think, 12 different listings for persons. That's like mind-blowing, the complexity that's in there. But again, that's client project stuff, right? Not distribution stuff, in our opinion. Then, of course, you want to search those profiles, right? Because if you have 10,000 people, maybe if you're in Germany and someone is last name is Müller or first name is Stefan or something like that, right? Like you have no chance to find that person, so you have to search. So we include that in our search. We have more facets if you search for a person and you're on the person tab here. Then on the left side you have different facets. You can choose the location, organizational unit, working group, skills, whatever. But again, in the distribution we only have like a basic set, right? That depends on the organization individually. And of course, you want to combine that with the autocomplete search that I showed you, right? Because especially when you're looking for a person, it needs to be fast because you do that often, right? So you don't want to go to the search page and scroll through lots of results, but you really want to type the first letters of the name and then you want to see it, right? So this is why it's integrated in the autocomplete search. Here in the distribution, we only show the telephone number, but in real projects, we actually show also the email, the department, and other information, right? That you can easily grab. And sometimes you can even like click on the telephone number and then call them directly. So that's also very convenient. What's important is that if you have an organization with thousands of users, you don't want them to create profiles in Plone, right? That wouldn't make sense. They already have Active Directory, they have LDAP, so you want to connect the two. So the problem is that the add-ons for Plone for connecting to LDAP Active Directory, they're there for authentication, right? Not for creating profiles. So the approach that we took, and there were plenty of other approaches, is basically we created a content object for a profile, which is that simple, and then we have a script that's synchronized. That script is very configurable. I think Jens started to write that for us like a few years ago for a project, and we plan to include that also in the distribution, right? So again, this is something that won't work out of the box because you will have to adapt that to your LDAP Active Directory. That's client specific, right? That's customization that you will need. And we are not after a fully fledged product that you can install and then configure out of the box or something. So you will still need, if you have a larger project, you will need to amend things and you need to do client specific changes there, and you need a Plone consultancy agency, right? We have a few more features that we have in line right now. Of course, dependent on the project, you might have different blocks. We have, I think, 10 blocks or so that work well with Wall to Light theme, but we have lots of more that depends on if you need them, right? For instance, like an iframe block, which is something that often organizations want, but you try to talk them out of that. And if they really want it, you have to secure that in some ways. And that's, again, specific to that organization, right? Or you have contacts block, depending on if the organization wants that people can be contacted via the website, or if they expose the email addresses internally. So that also depends on the client. We have workspaces that we could imagine to use. I mean, again, Plone's permissions and workflow systems is very sophisticated, so in most cases you don't really need that, something like collective workspace, but it's something that's in our mind. Another thing that clients ask for, especially in large organizations, is content lifecycle management. Plone has a few features for that, but they're not really that usable, so we will look into that at beginning of 2025. But again, we will try to do that in core if possible. And that's our philosophy, right? And that's also what you see in the distributions. Our distributions are never meant to become like a big thing, but really lightweight and more a set of configuration options for existing add-ons, right? So we factor everything out that we can, like in the search. And if we see that there's some shortcomings, like in content lifecycle management, then we will write a flip and try to enhance that in Plone. I mean, maybe maybe not everybody is on the same page as we are then in the Plone community, and then we have to make it an add-on, but we will try. And we try always to push things as far as possible, ideally in the core, right? And we also sell that to our clients because we tell them, hey, when we do that in core, right, it's less work for us and it's cheaper for you in the long run, right? Or if you want to change the agency at some point, right, then it's in core, right? So you don't have a problem to ditch us if you want to, right? Feel free. They never did that so far, but yeah, they can. And that's fine because that's open source, right? So I want to talk a little bit about our roadmap. We have the intranet, the Kit Concept intranet distribution that I showed you. We used that setting for a project that we successfully delivered 2 weeks ago, I think. And we have another government agency client project that we will deliver in the first quarter of 2025. And for this, we plan to finish the Kit Concept distribution and everything. But you can see what we have so far on plone-intranet.kitconcept.com. So it's not everything is there, right? It's not finished yet. The search, unfortunately, is not wired yet. Everything works, but one of our colleagues, which I will not name, Erico, had lots of things to do. No, seriously, Erico's awesome, and he had a shitload of work to do for the conference to organize. That. So I told him that's the least of your priorities, right? I can get on the stage and sell something that's not fully there yet, no problem. No, but it will be there by the end of the year, I would guess. There you can see the search there, but everything else is already there. And the important thing, as said, is Wall to Light team, right? So we are looking forward to collaborate with the open source community to discuss what we have. I think Erico's efforts with the Plone distributions are a great way for us to start communicating. As said, I talked to Rito. before the talk, and it's great to have like different options in the Plone community, right? Different trade-offs. We have different kind of clients, right? And different fits for our clients, right? And it's great that Plone distributions allow us to show clients and users this wide variety of use cases that Plone can actually cover. And that's it for today. As said, go to, oops. If you want to talk to me, I'm Tisto in the Plone community. You can write me an email to tisto@plone.org. If you want it to be in a more formal way, you can use my KitConcept email address. Our website is kitconcept.com, and I share all the other links with you already, mainly this one. So have a look, let us know what you think. Thank you.
Thank you, Timo. Nice presentation. Open to questions.
You made a very quick comment that I think you think nobody picked up on about a solution for portlets. Can you maybe tell us more about that solution?
I'm the wrong person because I'm an advocate against portlets in my company. So we have certain solutions. I mean, portlets are still there. You can still use it. We don't have them in Volto Light Theme, right? We have slots, which is something that we have in core that allow us to show certain things on certain parts of the page. It doesn't matter if it's in your header or if it's maybe in a column. So if you want to show a navigation, which is I think the main use case, right? Then you should look into slots. Victor, is that correct? Okay, I got approval from Victor. Then I'm like saying the right thing here. So that's slots, but it's not part of the product that I presented today. But of course you can do that. If you want to, then look into slots. They're there since Volto 18 and Plone 6.1. Yeah. Oh, so yeah. So Volto 18. So if you're on Volto, you can upgrade to Volto 18. Then you can even have it with Plone 5.2, or just upgrade to Plone 6.1. Then you get Volto 18, and you can use slots for this use case then.
Thank you for your talk, Timo. This is just a general comment that when we go to a client that wants an intranet, they don't know what they want. In our case, yeah. We have found clients that call an intranet a shared password to publish PDF files, yes. For instance. Yeah. And then also intranets like yours, or intranets with checkout and publishing and external publishing and so on. So it's very difficult to define an intranet, I think, and yes. This is an opinion, and Quave is another opinion. And yeah, it's a large world. Yeah.
No, you're absolutely correct, right? What I said about consultancy is kind of the first approach, right? And then what you bring in as a consultancy is all your knowledge, right? So we baked all our knowledge into Volto Light Theme and our product, like others do the same, and this is what clients are actually asking for. So I have the exact same experience. Most clients do not know what exactly they need, and they're very thankful if you tell them like, hey, we have this, you could do this, you could do that, right? But depending on the organization, you have to think about what you propose to them, right? And if I would go to a government agency and propose them like a social intranet where everybody can post what they want, they would eat me alive, right? So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, yeah. Hi, great talk, Timo, and thanks for the many references to Quave. I have a question. You create this intranet distribution. And we found out in Quave that to actually properly lock down the system out of the box was quite some work for us to figure that out. Is that part of the distribution, or how do you handle that to make sure that the content is actually protected and only authorized users can use it? And the only views that are publicly accessible are the login views.
Yeah, that's an important question, actually. So we made the decision for the intranet distribution to use the default publication workflow in Plone, because that's actually half of our use cases, right? That the internet runs internally, and you can only like a handful of editors actually create content, and all the other people in the organization just access the website via the internal network, right? So you don't need any protection of the content at all. But like I would say 50% of the other intranets that we have actually require that, right? So you need to log in. And this is where you need single sign-on and friends. And that's something that we also discussed internally, because I didn't want to use the intranet publication workflow, because it has this internal and external publication, which is not our use case, to be honest. I never had that use case. So we were aiming for a more simple internal workflow thingy, which we created, which is something that we could discuss maybe to have that in core. As a default option, or maybe as part of the distribution. I don't know. I'm not so too opinionated on that. But yeah, that's an important thing. But this is where I think Quave and our approach might differ a bit, because we basically say, okay, this is the initial like pitch, and then we configure the system dependent on the client needs, and we're not after like selling a holistic product, right? That just works like it makes sense to you, right? So yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, microphone at an appropriate distance. I would definitely argue for keeping the search first, the intranet view, not only to the intranet, so to speak. I would know of a large number of nonprofits that would prefer a search forward interface also, because they basically have shitloads of information as well, and their main user interface for their public website would also be search forward. I'm thinking, and I'm working, or I'm advising a number of nonprofits who, for instance, deal with a lot of legal work. Basically, everybody who comes to that site wants to do an advanced search. So it's hopefully not, is it tied to the Volta Light team or to the intranet distribution? Because
the search,
yeah,
intranet distribution, not Volta Light team. It's is that so? could be, but
okay.
So
no,
David,
it would be good if you can choose that option also if you're not using, if you're a public website.
yeah, it is, yes.
Okay.
But why do we still have a default baked in search? If we have a search block, you can also totally configure as a main search page.
You can. Yeah.
Sorry.
It's a complex discussion.
Well,
yeah.
the thing I actually
Search.
the thing I actually wanted to ask, if you, so portlets are often in the past have been abused by clients, by editors, to put some extra content next to the main content and not as a hierarchical structure, or as a kind of where you inherit. And the really easy migration solution there is to just move those content portlets as a block under the page, and then you can ditch all the other portlets and you're done. And that's, I should put that script somewhere. I did it for a client. It's like, it's my code, so don't look at it, but it kind of works and improve it. And then you just migrate static text portlets as an extra block under, and you're out of the discussion.
That's what we did for all our projects. No matter if you migrate from Plone with portlets or from other systems. Just
Last
blocks
question.
there. Yeah.
Thank you, Timo, for the nice talk. One of the things I always see in discussion with our marketing teams and trying to achieve is that there is a difference between the people in the institutions knowing what they have used till today, but not knowing what they need to go for the further things. That's also what things that a consultant should help with. And especially what we currently see is a lot of discussion how to integrate or let the intranet be the point where you find all your services so that you can look up your timesheet of time and attendance, to apply for holidays, to apply for business trip, to all the stuffs. And most often that's just a link to another system, but that's something you probably don't want because you want to stay in the same domain, the same design system, and so on. How do you handle that?
So first of all, thanks for that comment, because that's incredibly important. And that's the use case that we have with all our clients, right? That we don't have an intranet solution that solves everything, but it's really more the glue and the go-to point, the introduction point for people that look for content. And we have a bazillion of others, or our clients have a bazillion of other systems, and that won't go away, right? You can't go in there and say, hey, we will replace everything, right? That's not going to work. So this is what Plone is actually quite well suited for. So if you have a single sign-on system, I mean, that's important, right? That you don't have to log into all the other systems, but you can take that for granted in larger organizations. And then Plone basically just points to the other systems. And yeah, this is what we always do. I didn't mention that because it's kind of Pandora's box, right? Because there are so many like different use cases and so many different systems that you have. What helps there a lot and what's crucial in the success for such a project is actually the search, right? That you have Solar, and the Solar plays well with other systems, so you can integrate your Solar search with other systems. And if the user goes to the front page of your site, starts typing, it doesn't matter if you search, for instance, like also in a different system for your users, right? In our recent intranet project, we had that. They already had a system with a REST API where all their users were and all their information. So we didn't have to even copy that, right? So we queried directly their external system. And the same is true for a document management system or other systems. Just put them into Solar, query them, and then the search result will just link you to another system. And then you have your intranet, and then Plone is just a facade. I mean, Plone is far more than a facade, because you can do sophisticated page layouts, you can create content, but Plone is perfect for that, to be a facade also for other systems, right? So yeah, we take that into account, and it's, as I said, incredibly important. So thanks for that comment.
Thank you all for the question. Thank you, Timo. And next, the next presentation is Michael.